Well, welcome again to the YouTube videocast for the Libertarian Solution. I'm actually on the road right now. Well, not literally on the road. I'm in a parking lot in between point A and point B. As you can see, this is my car's interior. But I had a point where I could stop a few minutes before my next appointment, and I wanted to answer a question that I received from a listener. Or rather, I guess a comment that he received from someone when he was arguing libertarian points. Now, he had mentioned to me that he's kind of new to libertarianism, and he was talking with a friend of his, and his friend, after saying to him, how much he doesn't, like government, he thinks taxes are theft, which are all, valid points that I agree with. His friend basically responded with, well, it's good to know then that you won't be using any kind of government services like water or electricity or roads or sidewalks or police or fire departments, and of course the list goes on of things government does. There's I guess there's 3 points that I wanted to make there. The first one is that that's not an argument. That's just something to say, I guess, when you don't have anything to say, kind of like I know you are, but what am I? I mean, I don't really know what that response is, other than which would be my second point, maybe, that it could be an attempt to point out hypocrisy. I.e., you think taxation is theft, yet you use things that are funded by taxes. So on the surface, I could see where someone would arrive at a point like that. I would like that they would maybe point it out a little differently. But I don't think the hypocrisy idea is necessarily valid, because as individuals, we're kind of in a tough spot with the government having a monopoly on various services. If I could go to an alternate XYZ source for different services that the government has a monopoly on, I probably would. Maybe I wouldn't go to the motor vehicle department. Maybe I'd go to some competitor of theirs because the lines are much shorter and the people are more pleasant. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't use the government roads because it always seems that between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. they're jam-packed. Maybe I would use some other roads that would be, better maintained, better laid out. But the option's not there. Of course, the government has a monopoly on all these things. So, and of course, the ultimate basically would be like, imagine if you were a slave, and you obviously don't like the idea of being a slave. You're opposed morally to the idea of slavery, yet your master gave you a meal. And, would you eat it? Would you be a hypocrite if you did? I mean, I don't think so. I think that you kind of have to set priorities there and say, I don't like slavery, but I like starvation even less. So I think that's a valid point to make right there. And the third thing really is, I think when you're discussing libertarian ideas with people, because they generally are unfamiliar with them, is that you have to be very careful about how you approach it, especially if you're new to the concept. If you are new to libertarianism, you might have heard a couple of different arguments. You might be familiar with some things that other libertarian thinkers have said, but unless you really fully grasp the concepts, you could easily be put into a spot where you don't know how to respond, and you probably haven't done much to convince your friend if you're talking with someone and you don't have a full grasp of the ideas. What I would try and do is, even if you do have a full grasp of the ideas, because people will always have some information that you don't have. They'll come up with some argument that you haven't heard, even when you've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing this for a number of years, and I'm still challenged all the time. So, which I find very, very entertaining, a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I want to keep doing it. But especially if you're new to it, I would recommend approach people from a perspective of curiosity as opposed to from a perspective of authority. So if you're in a conversation with someone and they suggest the government should do this or that, the government should impose a special tax on the neighborhood of 2% so they can build the local park, because parks would be good and kids have fun in parks, and it'd be nice for the neighborhood to have a park. And instead of jumping right into the old, making the claim that taxation is theft and trying to push that thought through, unless you have a full grasp of it, you might want to approach it from a curiosity kind of standpoint. Well, what is it that what about the people who maybe don't want a park? Should they be forced to pay for it? If someone doesn't like the idea of having a park, or they don't want to fund the park, maybe they don't have kids. Maybe they don't know any of the neighborhood kids. Maybe they don't feel that it would be the same value to people that you do. So what I would recommend then is say, do you think it would be okay for the government to take the money from me anyway? Essentially, it's my neighbors choosing that the government should take the money from me. And, how well am I going to get along with my neighbors if they're taking money from me for something that I don't care for? Does that mean that next time something comes up, I can take money from them? Do I need the government to do it, or can I just, by proxy, or can I just do it directly? Can I just break in their house and take their TV? Would you suggest that if I don't want to pay for something like this, I'm a peaceful individual, I just don't want to park, that the government come and threaten me with violence and force me to pay for it? Would you use violence against me? Would you advocate the use of violence against me in order to fund something like this? Kind of put them in the position of answering questions, because then I think they'll get a better understanding of where you are on that. Most people don't advocate violence when they realize what it is, when they realize that it is violence. So I think that might be a good way to go. Hopefully I've been somewhat helpful in answering your question here. Of course, I'm always interested in more questions and putting up more videos. So if anyone has any topics of interest that they'd like to discuss or questions they'd like to see me try and take a shot at here, please visit us at libertariansolution.com. Send us an email, fan us on Facebook, send us messages that way. Any way you can get a hold of us, that'll work. Of course, you can always tune into the show, either on the podcast or if you're in Arizona on one of the stations that we air live on. Again, libertariansolution.com. I hope to talk to you soon. Have a good day.